game.
Thanks, Dave. State of Decay was refused classification here in Australia a couple of months back for its inclusion of self-medicated real-world drugs such as morphine and methadone.
But they've since been snipped and replaced with more acceptable drugs like caffeine and aspirin, so Aussies now have the all clear to try and survive this open-world zombie apocalypse.
Psycho's trying to bite me. Guess we're not the only ones having a bad day.
I can't just stay out here in the open. You didn't make it, Lily. I'm sorry.
Hex, I'm so glad we finally get to play this game. State of Decay was made with a tiny budget, so it has a lot of rough edges, especially in the visuals department, which may be a deal breaker for some. But interestingly, it also holds the record for being the fastest selling original game on Xbox Live Arcade. So that says something for it. For every technical shortcoming, this game gives you a dozen memorable moments in return. Hex, this reminded me of Grand Theft Auto 3 a bit because the gameplay is so rich that you end up forgiving its flaws and finding them more endearing than frustrating.
I think it took me a little bit longer to warm to this than you, especially after I'd been spoiled by the expert storytelling in The Last of Us. You know, there really is only the most basic of plot lines at play here. The game opens with you fighting zombies, and during combat you learn that the undead have taken over while you were on a canoeing trip.
What the hell, man? We're gone 2 weeks and what? Everybody takes up cannibalism?
Beats me.
I like that about this though, you're just thrown right into the deep end and forced to survive, which is the main theme of the game.
Yeah, I get that, but the cutscenes are just so bad.
I'd be more than happy to nail you to a tree and use you as bait.
All right then, let's get to work.
I mean, often it feels like they just picked a camera angle at random and went with it. I ended up playing director myself and rotating the camera around just to liven the shots up a little.
Hey, what's going on?
But you know, now I've aired my gripes about the story, let's get to the good stuff, the gameplay.
Yes, zombies are everywhere. And instead of being an over-muscled one-man army, you switch control between a handful of average Joes struggling to survive. At the start, you've got nothing but a stick to defend yourself with, and it's quite a ways into the game before you find any serious weaponry.
Yes, and because you're so underpowered, the game is more about zombie avoidance than zombie combat. Taking a lone zombie out is no problem, but if you let yourself get surrounded, you'll be overwhelmed quickly. And to make things even harder, these guys run just as fast as you do, which makes for some terrifying chases. Like here, when I was running for my life with a horde of zombies behind me. I mean, I knew I'd have no chance if I turned and fought, but at the same time, my stamina was running out, making me run slower and slower until... dead.
Yeah, those moments are pretty tough. I liked it when you know that you're not going to fight your way out of a situation. There is no chance, so you have to try and find a vehicle. Being in a moving car gives you more protection than any of the weapons do. With enough speed, you can take out zombies easily, especially if you open the door for them.
Hey.
But if you're going more slowly than the zombies, they will grab onto the car. If they're on the driver's side, you can try and shake them loose. But if they're on the passenger side, you have to get a bit more creative.
You think it's bad now? You should have seen Marshall in the first couple of days.
You can tell they've thought really hard about this car combat because it hits that right point between fun and realism.
Yeah, this game just kept impressing me with practical gameplay solutions. I mean, like this building, for example, where I saw an out-of-reach ladder. Well, technically I should be able to just reach that if I jumped. Huh, and I can. I know it's a little thing, but it's just nice when devs really think about the details.
I always appreciate it when they let you enter via a window instead of a front door. Made that my trademark entrance.
Man, can anybody tell me what the hell is going on?
Let's talk about the home-based management, which I found a little confusing.
Yeah, I was really lost as well. You've got to manage the group's morale, their stocks of supplies, and loads of details down to the amount of sleeping room. And like you mentioned earlier, the game just throws you in the deep end. It didn't give me any real guidance on what I could do at base, so I just had to figure it all out by trial and error. I think I was about halfway through the game before I realized I could use the radio to call around and see if anyone had seen any of the resources I needed, which are then marked on the map for you.
Yeah, that radio becomes a game changer once you've got it figured out. You spend a good portion of the game scavenging through buildings looking for supplies.
I'll run this home.
And physically legging it back can be a long process, but if you found something essential like a stash of ammo, you can just radio back to base and get them to send out another survivor to pick it up.
I found some supplies. Send runners for pickup.
I'll get people moving.
And you can physically see these survivors running about the map doing these pickups, and I like that there's so much happening in the background like that.
Yeah, I was on a mission where I called a survivor out, and then on my way back I saw her being attacked, so I pulled over to help her out. It's cool, man. I got your back.
I think the game is at its best when you have an AI buddy fighting by your side. Guns are a pretty scarce commodity in the game, so you won't be using them a lot, especially as your respect levels drop pretty quickly when you hit one of your own with friendly fire, which I did a fair bit. So you use melee weapons for most of your combat, and when you've got a partner, they'll often help you out by holding zombies so you can get a clean hit. I also found when I was close to my home base, I'd be preparing to club a zombie when they'd just be shot by one of my buddies in the guard tower. These are small touches, but they make such a difference.
Yeah, I was also really impressed with the way the game constantly raised the stakes in its world. Like, night, for example, is really terrifying. You can barely see anything, so it's much harder to safely keep clear of groups of zombies. And one day and night cycle in-game takes a couple of hours in real time. So, you know, each time I'd reach another sunrise, I really felt like I'd survived an ordeal.
They really do a good job of that decaying world setting, don't they? There are so many nods to iconic zombie scenarios, such as when you have to pull off the road and slowly inch around wrecks. Often I noticed other survivors were in trouble during their own missions, so when I switched to play them, they'd be injured or run down.
So damn tired.
It's just one of many ways the game raises the stakes and keeps them high. And of course your weapons gradually wear out too. It really is a state of decay. Everything is falling to pieces in this world.
I do think the missions could have been a little bit more varied, but I really liked the ones where you were holed up in a house and had to fend off hordes of zombies.
Come on, we need to put up some barricades.
It was just that frantic mix of boarding up the windows, sniping them as they approached, and brawling with the ones that got inside. I mean, sure, there was some dodgy clipping, but I was having so much fun that I didn't mind. Then I got so low on ammo that I had to run outside and use a car to finish the job. But we should wrap this up, Badge. Final thoughts?
This is a rough game. The glitches did frustrate me at times, such as here when I was driving along and I triggered a cutscene, so it teleported my character out of his car to have a conversation.
I'm gonna have to ask you to move along.
While the car just kept rolling along in the background.
Listen, man, we need some help here.
But these small issues are nothing compared to the thrill of finding a rare weapon.
Scratch that off the wish list.
Or taking out one of the huge zombies.
Whew, those guys were tough. But yeah, I have to say I wasn't expecting this much game from a download like this. State of Decay is kind of like one of its zombies. It's not that pretty to look at, but it'll sink its teeth into you and get the job done. So I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It's so much fun, and it's impossible not to think what this game would have been like with some multiplayer, which they dropped early in development due to practical reasons. What I like most about this game, though, it's about managing people and resources, and I think we haven't seen the last of State of Decay as a franchise, so I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.